Give it up for Evan.
Hello, everybody. Thank you all so much for joining us this evening. This is awesome. We at Left Wing Books are delighted to welcome the best-selling author, speaker, worship leader, and popular podcaster, Carlos Whittaker. So a couple notes before we begin, then I'll pass the mic. If you are comfortable and able, we are expecting possibly even more of an amazingly full crowd tonight. So if you've got some seats in between you and the people next to you and you're comfortable scrunching in a little bit, that'll help any latecomers. So tonight's event is only possible because of your support. So I just want to thank you all so much for coming tonight. When you support Left Bank Books, your money goes directly into our local economy. So it helps keep our streets paved and our parks amazing and everything else that makes St. Louis great. It also helps us give authors the support that they deserve by putting on events like this. So thank you all for shopping local and for joining us this evening. I also want to extend a welcome to our virtual audience. Thank you so much for joining us from wherever you are. We really appreciate you being here tonight. We at Left Bank Books are always hard at work putting together new events for readers of all ages. Of note, on October 9th, we'll have Jared Schroeder here with his new book, The Structure of Ideas. This is a book about AI, in which he contends that in today's information landscape, which is marked by the rapid emergence of AI, protecting free expression and creativity in areas of commercial, corporate, and online speech is more important and more unique of a challenge than ever. So feel free to join us for that on the 9th. Info about this event and our full calendar can be found at left-bank.com. So for tonight's event, Carlos Whittaker is a best-selling author, podcaster, event speaker, worship leader, moment maker, spider killer, and hope dealer. He currently spends the majority of his time writing books and speaking on stages all over the world. Today, Carlos, his wife, Heather, and their children live in Nashville. His new book is Reconnected, How 7 Screen-Free Weeks with Monks and Amish Farmers Helped Me Recover the Lost Art of Being Human. Like many of us, Carlos has lived for years in an always-on, always-connected world, and he felt more disconnected than ever from God, his community, and even himself. When he realized how many hours he was spending on his phone, he took extreme measures to see how unplugging could change his body and soul. In Reconnected, he shares the challenges, surprises, and profound insights of his self-imposed exile from technology. Please give a wonderful round of applause for Carlos Whittaker.
So official. It's got a podium. I love it. Come on in. There's more seats. There's come to the front row. Come on in. Thanks again, Evan. Thanks, Left Bank Books, for doing this. This is really cool. When we were driving up, I'm like, this neighborhood is awesome, and the building is awesome, and I just have been having a blast doing these local indie bookstore things because this. I don't know about you, but like less and less people are reading on Kindles, and more people are wanting this. I was talking to a bookstore owner. Is something happening here? There we go. In Atlanta, and he was saying that like the book is like the greatest form of technology because literally in 2 years we won't be able to charge these things with the same chargers anymore. Like we won't even be able to turn them on. But if you bury this in 100 years, someone's still going to be able to read it. And so like I'm just so grateful for bookstores that are still doing this, still selling the paper things. If you read ebooks, that's great. I still do audiobooks. But as an author, I'm always like, buy the paper books. Those things are so helpful. So thank you for coming. This is so cool. This is actually like real Missouri. I was in Kansas City, and oh my gosh, those people are crazy. They're fighting, the whole time. So, but it was fun. That was more just like a random meetup. This is tonight. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to read like a little bit of the book. Does somebody want to come in?
Yeah.
They are, we're reading a little bit of the book and then take some photos, some selfies. We actually, Whitney from Wisconsin, everyone wave at Whitney from Wisconsin. There she is! Whitney from Wisconsin. She's here, she's got the Polaroid. And so I thought at these book signings, I was like, I mean, everyone's taking photos with their phones, but I was like, I'm gonna buy a Polaroid, and then buy some film, and then we'll just take a Polaroid, and everybody can take a photo of that if you want to, and put it on Instagram later. But tonight, you'll just get a Polaroid, and you can use it as a bookmark. Is that cool? So I'm gonna read probably one of my favorite chapters. I'm not gonna read the whole chapter, but it's called Godspeed, and it's chapter 3, page 21, and I'm just gonna read like 1 or 2 pages, and
I'm not gonna be your
yeah, come on.
Yes, fuck it.
Here we go.
What's up? Hey,
Godspeed.
all eyes on me.
Oh yeah.
Hey,
Hey, what's your name? What's your name?
Tarzan. My name's True. Hey, what's your name?
My name's Carlos, man. Come here.
All right, let's talk about it. What's up?
Nice to meet you. So
My
glad.
name is True.
True.
Yeah.
I like it,
People
True.
call me in Missouri.
Yeah, that's what they call you.
Yeah.
This is my book.
What you doing with that
Well,
book?
look at me. I wrote that book.
So what's the book about?
It's about trying to not be on your phone too much.
Okay.
Yeah.
So about that, what?
Well, I think it helps you connect back with other people instead of just typing all the time. You know what I'm
Okay,
saying?
that's people.
Look at all this stuff.
You. I mean, look, I'm not your audience. Is this your audience?
Oh no, you're my audience
I'm
because
your
you showed
audience
up
too.
here. Yeah. So I'm gonna
Hey,
do.
look, can I get a hug?
Let's go. Right here.
Hey, round of applause.
Listen, I'm gonna give her the book.
Let's go.
Yeah. And I'm gonna give you the book too, and you can take it with you. Okay?
So, Carlo,
Yeah,
let's make your book in real life. So, where's your book? What's the premise of your book?
Yeah. So go home now. I see.
Carlo,
I see.
what's the premise of your book? I'm just making a break. I'm making a small thing easier. Easy thing.
Yeah.
Let's reconnect over here. Come on back. Come on back.
She loves me too
Yeah, she
much.
does.
I love you guys. I'll see you later.
Okay, I gave him my book, so I'm gonna read it. All right, Godspeed. Here we go. Chapter 3. You know my last book, How to Human. Like humans are so desperate to be seen, right? And I mean that's literally why he walked in, was to be seen. I mean, I can start crying right now, because people are. So and we're on these things just nonstop, and I just, gosh, I just see everywhere I go, people are so desperate, and so man, what a great example! Thank you, Lord, for this example. That I mean, if we had to sit here the entire time and talk to him, I would have done it. But yeah, who can you see on the other side of this thing? Who is screaming out, desperate to be seen? Even when I was with the Amish, a lot of them felt invisible. They told me. Even with the monks, a lot of them felt invisible. And I think all of us have felt invisible at different times in our life. And so I don't know, man. I'm actually really grateful that happened. What was his name? True. Tarzan or True. From St. Louis, man. Thank you for that. Godspeed. The no car thing at the Abbey was a situation. There was no monk subway station either. I was going to have to use the 2 limbs attached to my torso at my hips, although I really appreciated my cozy little cabin at the top of the hill. The word hill is in there. I was going to be walking the next 2 weeks a lot. I rushed out the door because I knew I only had 5 minutes to make it to the chapel for Vespers, the evening prayer service. There are 57 stone steps leading down from my cabin to the guest house, which sits at one end of the property's main road. The speed at which I ran down those steps was pretty incredible. I don't know what it is, but when there are that many steps in a row, the 3rd grader in me rises up, and I want to see how fast I can make it down the steps. I'll go even faster if someone's racing me. When I hit the bottom step, I smiled, as if I knew I would have beaten Heather or the kids on the way down. I continued along a path in the middle of the lawn that led to the pond. The pond had a few ducks on it and a lot of turtles around just chilling. I can't believe I wrote the word just chilling. And now my editor let that happen. The amount that you guys don't even know, the amount of emails I got from my editor, they're like, can you not write like you talk? Sorry, it's just I can't. This is what it is. I jogged past it and down the path to the chapel. The bell had rung at least 4 minutes earlier, and I didn't want to be late. But the second I saw the chapel, my heart started to pound. What am I about to walk into? I'm not Catholic. I don't know the rules. Am I going to make a fool of myself? I took a deep breath and walked in. The deep breath was a real thing because I was kind of out of breath from hurrying down from Mount Carmel. The bell started ringing again, and I looked around to make sure I was in the right place. Where are the monks? I wondered. I looked behind me through the floor to ceiling glass windows to see 20 monks lined up in 2 lines, side by side, looking straight ahead. There they are. Here we go, I thought. Should I sit? Am I supposed to stand? There was only one other person in the chapel pews, and I made a decision to just do what he did. Legit, there was only one other person. This was the least attended church service I'd ever been to. He was sitting, so I sat down. When the bell stopped, he stood up, so did I. The back door opened, and the monks began to chant behind us. The man began to chant as well. Dang it, was I supposed to study the chants before I got here? How does he know the chants? And then I noticed he had a piece of paper in his hand. Aha, it was a cheat sheet. I scanned the chapel to see if there was a stack of them somewhere, and I finally spotted them on the table next to the door the monks were about to walk through. I made a beeline toward the back, but by the time I got there, the monks were already starting to file in. Excuse me, sorry, I said 4 or 5 times as I squeezed myself between multiple monks to reach the cheat sheet. They didn't look amused. I quickly grabbed it and dodged my way back through the monks to my seat. Dodged is the right word. Kind of like when you're in the middle of a worship service at a charismatic church and you have to go to the restroom during the worship set. On my way back, you look around, everyone has their hands up and they're swaying side to side with their eyes closed. It's a game of inches as you dodge them to avoid accidentally getting worship punched in the face on the way back to your seat. If y'all ever, listen, if y'all ever go to those churches, you know what I'm talking about. Oh man, I had to do it last Sunday. If you go to the sort of church, you know what I mean. You literally move to the beat of the songs, channeling Emmett Smith, hitting the hole in the line of scrimmage as you're dipping and dodging defenders. That was what I looked like making my way back to my seat. I felt a bit smudged when I made it without bumping into any of the monks. I still got it. The distance between the back wall and my seat was probably only 20 feet. And although the round trip had taken me a good 30 seconds, the monks had made it only halfway up the aisle to where I was sitting. They were walking so slow. They were chanting so slow. I looked at the cheat sheet and started pretending like I knew what I was doing. I don't know who I thought I was trying to impress. Maybe the monks. Maybe the man in front of me who didn't even know I was there. Maybe myself. Maybe God. But I started chanting like I'd lived at the Abbey for 40 years. The cheat sheet helped me about 0%. The 30-minute service felt like it lasted 30 years. Not going to lie, not going to sugarcoat it, not going to make you think I was some Zen-loving, slowness-cherishing human being at this point. No, this was monk school session 1, and I was bored. We sat down, stood up, sat down, stood up, sang, bowed, sang, sat down, sang, chanted, repeated, stood up over and over. They sang so slowly. They read so slowly. About as slowly as they walked. When the service was over, I was starving. All that standing and sitting and chanting really took it out of me. So I walked over to the dining hall to wait for the dinner bell to ring. I was the first one in line. Once again, I found myself waiting for the monks. I turned around and saw them slowly making their way to the dining hall. Their rhythmic walking made their robes sway like bells on their bodies, almost moving in sync with the other robes. Some had their hands clasped behind their backs, smiling at each other, chanting quietly. I saw a few monks even chuckling. That's when it hit me. I wasn't moving at the right speed. The speed at which I was moving was the speed of my regular life, which was not the speed at which life happened here. No, this was monk speed. Maybe we can even call it Godspeed. Godspeed. It was and is still probably the thing I talk about the most when I talk about this book. I am going to take this message to, I'm taking it to corporate America, but I'm also taking it to the faith spaces. I look at America and I just think, man, the church is no longer moving at Godspeed. And I think that's where half the problem's coming from. And so I would love to answer some questions, if anyone has any, on Reconnected. Go ahead and raise your hand and then I'll answer. First of all, this is my first question. Has anyone actually read the whole book yet? Yes. Great job. A+ students. I have a documentary coming out October. What did we decide today? It may move, but the 25th. It's going to be available for everybody. I am doing a screening in Nashville on the 23rd, which is going to be a lot of fun. But for those that don't know, I did take a little pocket Sony camera with me on this whole experiment, mostly to film myself so that I could write the book a little easier and I could watch the videos as I talked to them. But there were so many tears. Have you ever seen Alone? Like that show? Literally, that was me every night. I was just like, oh my God, what am I doing? Why did I do this to myself? But then there was so much footage that I was like, wow, what if we can make a movie? So we made a movie out of it. That'll come out on the 25th of October. I'm excited about it. So I'll open it up for questions. Raise your hand and then tell me. Yes, what's your name?
To the book. It was fun to hear you to read it aloud to me, but I'd love to hear more about what it was like for you when you were back in Nashville after having been in these other experiences.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I was with the monks for 2 weeks. I was with the Amish for 2 weeks, and then I was with my family for 3 weeks, all without screens. By the time as you read in the book or you heard in the book, like after day 3, all my panic attacks, heart palpitations, literal physical manifestations of anxiety. I was coming off of this drug, right? My brain, the serotonin levels, dopamine, all that stuff was resetting. Those first few days were horrible, but then it stopped being an experiment about the phone, right? So literally, like I forgot it was even about a phone after that. So for the next 6.5 weeks, it was just this experiment about community. And so when I got home to Nashville, what Sohaila said, so my oldest was, I think at the time when I got home, she was probably, I think, 20. And she said to me, she said, Dad, this is the purest version of you I've ever experienced. Pure. And when she said the word pure was, I think that was the right word, because she got me totally 100% focused on her. There was never a single conversation. Think about this. There was never a single conversation for 7.5 weeks where something buzzed or dung on my body. Dings. Like I was fully focused that entire time. So when I got home with my kids, literally after like 2 days, they're like, Dad, can you stop staring at us? Can you go pick up your phone? Like, can you relax? But this is also what was cool. I didn't put all these rules when I got home. Like there weren't rules. Okay, this is what we're gonna do as a family while I'm home for 3 weeks. No, I let them continue at their pace with their phones and Netflix and the TV and everything. Their screen time cut in half. Why? Not because I told them to, but because I wasn't on my phone. So legitimately, when you're having a conversation with somebody and you're not on your phone and your phone's nowhere near you, they don't look at theirs. It's the craziest thing. And so they just stopped being on theirs as much. So I think that was probably one of the biggest lessons when I got home. But it was awesome. You know, Heather called me Amish Carlos when I got home because I started I was fixing everything. Like, I was just like, I wake up in the morning, I'd walk out, and we're read the Dew on Your Boots chapter. I'd walk out and I'd see if there's dew on my boots in the front yard. And I'd look at my wife and I was like, baby, there's dew on my boots, it's not gonna rain, right? Like all the things that the Amish taught me about intuition, and I got to apply those things. And so turning it back on was actually the hardest part. I felt as pure as I've ever felt. And think about it, right? Like for some of you that are younger in here, you don't even know life before this. There's a lot of us in here that do remember, and I got to taste it again, and I was like, gosh, this is what it's supposed to be like. So it was so hard to turn it back on. I'm glad I turned it back on, or else none of you would be here. But I've changed it significantly. So thanks for asking. Great question. Another question. Hi, what's your name?
Mallory.
Hey, Mallory.
Only reason I got to read this book is because I traveled this week, so I got to sit on an airplane
Yes.
and read the book, which is
Yes.
great with my hands. But I have a 3-year-old and a 5-month-old at home.
Yeah.
So my question is, if you had kids
Ooh.
at that age now in this stage, how would you implement what you read? Preface with
Yeah.
the question.
That's a great question.
Because I'm reading it, I'm like,
I know. So here's the thing. First of all, I'm gonna make a very broad, sweeping statement that is purely an emotional reaction to my experiment, right? And I'm sorry to every kid that's in here. Wait as long as possible to put a screen in front of them. Just if Heather and I say it all the time, if we could do it again,
we know they're going to get, they're going to have them. So we have to introduce it to them. We want to be the ones to introduce it to them, but wait as long as possible. Losiah's best friend in Nashville, a couple nights ago, my story, there was a kid playing the piano in my living room. I don't know if any of you saw it. It was mind blowing. Literally the best piano player I've ever heard. He's 17. He doesn't have a phone. They live on a farm. None of his siblings have phones. He doesn't want one. He's seen the problems with pornography and all the things that his friends are dealing with. He's just and his dad is in AI. He's a tech guy. And so so the sweeping broad statement is wait as long as possible, right? Because it just is, gosh, there's going to be like cigarette warnings on these things before I think I die. I think it's going to be that way. But I think to really get super specific, especially with kids. Gosh, you said a 3-year-old?
3-year-old and 5-year-old.
What I don't want you to do is feel shame when you do put a screen in front of them. I don't want you to do that because, trust me, I don't know if you guys remember Baby Einstein videos. Listen, this is before iPads were, but we would put that thing in the VCR and show Heather would be like, it was the only way Heather could take a shower, right? Like she's like, like 7 months old or whatever, and she just sit there and just watch balls roll back. That woman that invented that was a billionaire, and she just filmed it, Anyway, so don't feel shame about it. But also, I just think, like, what a great opportunity you have to really implement. That's why I title all these chapters. You don't even have to read the chapter, but like wondering, sweet. Don't give your kids the answer when they ask. Let them wonder. You don't go searching for the answer in front of your kids when you have a question. Just wonder. If you're with a group of friends and your kids are there, a lot of this stuff I think is going to be caught rather than taught when it comes to your kids. If your kids see you wondering and not searching for the answer to the questions, again, I think, and I talk about it in the book, I think we know too much. I don't think that our souls and our psyche were created with the capacity to consume and to know what we want to know. So even helping them, with that, I think of like solitude. We're the last generations of humans to walk the earth without the ability to have solitude. It's never happened before in the history of the earth. But now, like, we're the first ones to not have the option to have it, right? How can you give your kids solitude? How can you help them be bored? I joke all the time how my mom used to, stick my brother and me outside at like 9 a.m. on Saturday mornings and lock the door and put a 2-liter Coke out there. And she's like, hey, I'll open the door back up at like 5. And we just take off, right? And everyone's like, oh, it's just different. No. I think it's going to be helpful for kids. Now, this is for older kids, maybe teenagers, okay? I have taken off Life 360. Now, that for initially, Life 360 is an app where you can track your kids and you can see where they're at and how fast they're going and all these things. Well, suddenly, like, I realized my mom said to me, I think I said it in the book, like, I'm so glad I didn't have that app when you were a teenager, because I just had to trust you, and you had to trust me. And if something happened, and something did happen once. She's like, we found out, we found, and there's nothing I could have done had I had the phone told me, And so I just think that you can make very intentional, simple decisions with your kids right now to show them, to show them what you're doing instead of just even teaching them. And of course, there's things, and I've got a lot of handlebars in the book where I tell you, buy an alarm clock, don't use your phone. All of those things. That'll save you literally just buying an alarm clock, putting it next to your bed and keeping your phone somewhere else charging it will save literally you an hour a day. It's an hour that the average American spends in bed on their phone, either before they fall asleep or after they wake up. So just doing that will save you an hour. So I just think it's possible. It's really possible. And I'm actually jealous that you've got kids that you can start fresh with right now, because I don't have that choice. So thanks for asking. It's a good question. Other questions? Whitney, you just tell me when I'm that time. Yes, back there. What's your name?
Hi, my name is Sam.
Hey, Sam.
My question is, how do you maintain those benefits that you got from spending this time away from technology? And what are the guardrails that you have on your own life to keep you from going back to that place where you're always on your phone?
Yeah, it's a great question. Well, this book, there's a lot of books about why phones are bad and giving you all these rules on how to guard, a lot of books with great guardrails. What happened on this experiment for me, I think, was a little bit different. The guardrails kind of have appeared themselves as I have fallen back in love with all of the things on the other side of the screen, right? So like when I got back, literally, I don't want to turn this on. Like I did not want to fall back into it because I realized, again, with the math, that I was going to lose over a decade of my life looking at my screen. So some guardrails that I've done, very practical applications that I've done. I deleted all the news apps and X off my phone, and I subscribe to this thing. It's really cool. They fill my front yard every morning. It's called a newspaper. And what's crazy about it is like, it still gives me the news. I get the news every day. I find out what's happening all over the world. But when I'm done reading it, if anything else happens on planet Earth, I'll find out tomorrow, right? So like there's a bunch of very practical things I've done that I never drink my coffee or eat a meal with my phone. But, and meal times have extended, right? So in 1923, the average American meal was 90 minutes long. 2023, the average American meal is 12 minutes long. So I've extended my meal times. So, you know, it's not like I've implemented rules to make this happen because if this is going to help me stay off my phone. No, this is stuff I want to do now. You know, like I want to wonder. I want to not know things. I just, as much as it, and even my Instagram is like helping people, you know, be justice warriors and see people that are unseen and do all these things around the earth. I just don't know if we were created to know everything that we know. And so I've simplified what I know. I've lessened, you know, some of those things. So like, I don't have screen time limits on my phone. I don't have any of that. I'm about 3 hours a day now. And it's actually gone down. I was 3.5 hours a day when I started writing the book. And I'm 3 hours a day now. It's getting less and less. I think the more I live all of these chapters and the more I live these things out. So, you know, again, there's not a bunch of rules that you'll get in here. I am my podcast right now. I'm getting very specific chapter by chapter. And so I'm unpacking them for about 30 to 45 minutes if you want to dive in. And I think there's probably going to be a lot more answers on that podcast as well. Thanks for the question.
Last question.
Okay. Yes. What's your name?
Jamie.
Hey, Jamie.
I'm a fan for my wife Pam. She's a big fan.
Love it. We're almost wearing the same outfit.
Yeah.
I have not read the book yet, but
Yeah.
I read an interview you were doing
Oh, cool.
when you came up with the idea of the book.
Yeah.
Talk about doing having a scan.
Yep.
Did you do the scan?
I did the scan. So I did my brain scan, and you get a little bit of the scan in the book. You get a little bit more in the documentary, but I'll just give it all to you right now. So I got my brain scan before and after. He does SPECT scans, SPECT, and it's a way that it'll scan your brain in 3D and it shows different colors and how lumpy it is and all these things. And there was a big marked difference in my cerebellum, which is the largest part of your brain. Big difference at the end. But that wasn't the kicker. So for those of you that follow me online, you know my father has dementia. I'm a huge brain health guy. Like I'm like, how can I stay as far away from that as possible? So I go for the second brain scan, and the brain scan looks better. It's less lumpy. There's some things that have happened. But then I did my cognitive memory testing. And what they did, Dr. Eamon, he put me in front of a computer. And it was like an old 1985 looking IBM computer, like fluorescent lights above. It looks like I like, you know, 11 from Stranger Things was about to walk out. Like the room was like, they had all these things, you know, up on my brain or on my head. And they would flash photos on the computer screen. So they flashed like 30 photos, black and white photos of just portraits. And then they'd wait 5 minutes, and then they'd flash 100 photos. And I would just have to hit the space bar every time a photo that I remembered would come on. Then they would start giving me numerals and letters, right? So like 1729 A B 27 or whatever it is. And I would just have to keep remembering what they were. My first initial brain scan, my cognitive memory score was the 50th percentile of adult males in America. When I did not look at a screen for 7.5 weeks, I ended up in the 99th percentile. There was only 1% of adult men in America that have better memory than me. So legitimately, these smartphones are making us dumb. No, they are. And so that blew my mind that my brain could really heal that much. I mean, I was remembering like 30 letters and numbers in a row.
And that's 7 weeks.
And that's 7 weeks. Now, again, this wasn't science, wasn't a scientific experiment. I was the only data point, right? Like it was me. So who knows if it was like shearing 47 sheep, or if it was like praying 7 times a day, or if it wasn't. But whatever happened in those 7.5 weeks, my memory went boom through the roof. So awesome. You guys ask great questions. St. Louis. Wow. Best questions in the book tour so far. So this is what we're going to do. Whitney from Wisconsin is going to kind of gather all. I think there's going to be a line somewhere. Maybe you can help us with that.
Yes.
I'll sign books, and we'll take a little photo with the Polaroid. And don't shake it. I know the song says it. Don't shake it. Okay? And then, yeah, and I'd love to meet all of you. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you all so much for being here tonight. We have got copies of 3 of Carlos's books available at the front desk. So grab one if you don't have yours yet. We are going to be doing the signing more towards the back if you've been here before and you're in the psychology section. If not, we'll help point it out and we'll get some books signed. So thank you all so much for coming.
Thank you.